got done watching the new Marcus Rogers video, Who is Worse, White People or Black People? And you just hit a lot of great points with this. I've been trying to find the right words to say about America in general. It's so hard not to just be borderline. Everybody just leave the country, just GTFO. But what we're facing is a definite division in reality. The reality is, if you're a black man in America on any other day of the week, you don't have to always deal with racism. You don't always have to deal with people walking across the street, depending where you are. If you walk across the street with you, you don't always have to live in a society in which you feel like a second-class citizen. There are some days of the week in which you feel like you can conquer. You feel like you're allowed to be a man. You feel like you're allowed to stand up for your rights, stand up for who you are, and get by. I feel as if, and this is like just what he said, like the hearts of American citizens are so ugly. There's no compassion in this country. There's no real thought process in this country. Everyone's mentally lethargic. You know, how many perspectives do we have on someone because they say that they're Irish or they say that they're Italian? And worse than that, how many people paint themselves with that brush, you know? They're like 50 years removed from any stereotype about Irish or Italian people, and they would still uphold themselves within it. So when it comes to black people who don't want to be painted by the stereotypes, that don't want to be a part of this game, quite honestly, it's a game. You know, some people are in this country playing a race game, and being colorblind is the enemy, because you're never gonna wake up and see how people are really treated in this country and how differently you subconsciously treat a black person versus a white person. It's like all this happens, and again, it's like we just can't identify the problem. And I think Marcus Rogers just hit the nail on the head. The problem is people's hearts. The problem is that we have no compassion. We have no sympathy. We don't have any sense of relating back to other people or relating back to other nations or other groups of people, because it just seems like whenever white people deal with other races, they only want us for sex or for money. It's never like a genuine thing. They want us for entertainment, they want us for pleasure, or they want us to be subservient to them. And they don't see anything wrong with that. Is every white person like that? No, but we have to stop discussing things like that. We have to stop saying, well, not every black person is like that. Well, not every white person is like that. Why not every cop is like that? Yeah, but there's a great number that are, you know. We shouldn't ignore violence inside black neighborhoods. We shouldn't ignore the amount of black mothers that kill black babies through abortion. We shouldn't ignore anything affecting black people. Let's just give a better background on what's going on here. Is that many of these people facing generational poverty in this country are the same people that have been facing oppression and internment and servitude in this country for centuries. So it's not like they just became poor in 2020. Their families have been struggling to acclimate to American society. They've been struggling to learn the rules of American society for probably well over 100 years now. Probably well before 1920. And then you have this elitist, jingoistic interpretation of American history. And it's like, despite you learning everything that's wrong with America, and this is where the media comes into play, this is just when we're all let down, at no point in time are you really educated how wrong and how broken and how fragmented this society is. You're not taught America's barely holding itself together, because they don't tell you how much these things, they don't tell you how much World War I cost. They don't tell you how much World War II cost. That's not taught to you at the top of your head. They don't tell you where the money's coming from. They don't tell you who profits off the war. They call it the Great War. It's called the War on Drugs. Now there's a story that Border Patrol has been letting guns that have been murdering innocent Mexican people to pump the cartels and strengthen the cartels have been flowing into Mexico for years, which sounds just like, crazy enough, 2010 or so, 2008 or so, well before that actually. This is George Bush when George Bush was president. This is like 2000s, 2002. When the whole thing comes up about Iraq having WMDs, Afghanistan, hard terrorists, but America gave the receipt. We're living in the weirdest country on the planet. It's like in one breath, and this is why it is. America is probably one of the most beautiful countries on the planet. You have everybody here. I love my country. You have everybody here. Everybody wants to be here. Everyone wants to be able to work and find opportunity. Everyone wants to be able to be themselves, enjoy their culture without being a slave, without struggling for years on end. Nobody wants to play this white created game, and this is when the bastardization, this is when the confusion starts. It's whenever you're dealing or talking about white people, Caucasians, Europeans in this country. America let all these Nazis into the country after resisting fighting World War II the entire time because, quite honestly, they didn't have any fucking issue with them. They were doing the exact same thing in America to black people that they were doing to Jews in Germany. The only difference is that we weren't being gassed, we were just being lynched, we were just being shot to death. We're being aborted. And the Jews are being removed from their homes and forced into camps. We're being removed from our homes and forced into prison. In a lot of ways, what's happening to black people in this country and what's been happening to black people in this country is far worse than what any person on this planet has ever endured. But this is my point. We have no compassion for black people, even other black people. We're brainwashed in this society. Like, we are literally manipulated and brainwashed in this society to hate black people. You know it's true. From birth. So by the time that you're 7, you're 10, and you're learning about all these things, you have no sympathy. You have no understanding. You spend all this time hating black people and hating where they come from and avoiding our black neighborhoods, avoiding where black people live, locking your doors and crossing the street whenever you see a black person, feeling whenever you see a black person who's successful, it's affirmative action. But when were we taught, hey, we were wrong about black people for centuries? They were not inferior human beings. They were not 3/5 of a human being. Eugenics was wrong. They've never come out and said this. They still attempt to use the same practices, the same mentalities, and the same thoughts to this day. We're not taught slavery is the worst human tragedy that's ever happened on God's green earth. And it was constructed by American citizens to build America, and that is the only reason why America is standing. And ever since 1865, America has been struggling without slave labor because there was no other way for this country to formulate. We don't say that. We don't say thank you. Thank you, every single black person in this country, for your ancestors and for their sacrifice and for their labor, because those were the hands that built America. No, you have the alt-right saying that white people can do everything by themselves. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? If you could do it doing it by yourself isn't murdering and killing people. Doing it by yourself is doing the labor portion by yourself, and you guys did not do that. It's building by yourself, and you did not do that. And now, even to this day, we have to deal with being denied out. We did not do any. Black people did not do anything. We were constantly, and we are constantly, acted against in this country, either by the self-hatred of our own kind, because once again, everybody is taught to hate black people are taught to hate black people. You didn't like understand how many times I've seen a young black woman afraid of black men, a young black man, himself black, afraid of black men. That's heartbreaking. Does it come from reality? Sometimes, definitely comes from reality. What is it really? It comes from narrative. It comes from school. It comes from the media. It comes from expectation of reality. It doesn't come from reality within itself. I lived in all black neighborhoods. I've lived in the ghetto before. I personally had no issue. The same people that lived there before are still living there now. It's frustrating because you wonder, and maybe white people don't have this issue, but as black men, I feel like some of us do, that there needs to be a stop to this. There needs to be something that's done to stop us from being murdered. Murdered by our mothers before we're born, to stop us from being murdered by other races and other groups of people, and to stop us being murdered from other black men. But it's all revolving to a cycle. Black men are murdering other black men because we're raised to be self-hating. Because of a lack of opportunity within small neighborhoods and a lack of fathers. So you could solve that by being a father. You can solve that by, instead of arresting black men when we're young, those that do survive abortion, you create programs for us, you create activities for us to do that are going to build us up. But we don't do this with, I grew up in the suburbs. We don't do this with any kids. There are programs there, but there are no programs around that aren't paid for. Another grand divider. There's really rarely programs around in which you're going to see a great group of other black people coming up and supporting. I'm just such a loss, because you have white people in this country skating by without having to endure any of reality. They never have to deal with people outside their own race, but they can talk all the shit they want about them. They never have to experience poverty unless they drastically fuck up their lives. But we're born having to adapt to an unnatural, satanic, inhumane way of life within America. I'm just going to call that right out for what it is. America is a satanic country. The entire country is filled with Satanists. You people do not believe in God. I don't know what's wrong with you. You don't believe in God. You should. He would love you. You say God bless America, but it sounds like a request. It doesn't sound like a reality. And that's scary. So we're born in a satanic culture. Everything is backwards. People, in real life, people are the only thing that generate profits. People are the only real investment that you make. If you invest into a business, you're investing within every single person working in that business, but you're investing within the leadership of that chairman or that CEO running the company. Are you not? You're founding and you're investing in the dream of that founder. Are you not? But profits in this country, the only country on the planet like this, Profits come before people. It's just so disturbing and so troubling growing up as an American citizen because you want so badly to love your country with all your heart and all your soul. And I do. I love my country. But the people that call themselves American and think that America is only a white nation, this has been a goal that you people have had since you've gotten in this country. And it hasn't happened yet. There's no point on this planet where America has only been a white nation. It just hasn't been. You try your best to make it that way. You try your best to make it that way now, and that's exactly the problem. You don't want to see anything wrong with black people dying in the street and black people getting killed by police because that secures the perspective of white supremacy. You don't want to feel anything that there are black families, African families, that have given everything to this country, that have been struggling in poverty for 200 years because the very country that they aim to love and protect refuses to do it, refuses to love them, refuses to protect them, and murders them, kills them, rapes them. There's no soul in America, Marcus Rogers. It's not just a matter of people's hearts being ugly. It's not just a matter of people lacking compassion. The American citizens have no soul. There's some of us that definitely do. There are definitely some of us that still believe in God and believe in faith. But I just really feel at this point, many Americans they're soulless creatures. They're only vessels on this planet that care about making money and nothing else. They don't care about humanity. They don't care about the next 100 generations. They don't care about the year 3000. They only care about technology, pleasure, drugs, and sex. And how do you get that? So black people are going to suffer in this country. It's not going to be until we have 5 black presidents. It's not going to be until we have a black CEO in Microsoft. Black people are going to struggle in this country until this country accepts God. Not the God of slavery, not the God that they created. I mean the actual God that existed long before white people existed as a species on this planet. I mean, like, even people with that kind of pigmentation to begin with, because they somehow hijacked the perspective of human evolution to make them the beginning of human evolution instead of the reality. You guys didn't exist until the 1400s. No Bible character looked like you. So we removed the solution very early on. The solution was moved in the 1600s. The solution was moved at the Council of Nicaea when we began imagining white people as the image of God. White people view themselves as the image of God. And there's nothing that they do that's godly. There's nothing that they do that's reflective within the Bible. Unless they claim to be a devout Christian. Then yeah, if you're a devout Christian, you're going to act like Christ. That's great. The average white person is not a Christian. The average white person is an atheist. They have no God. They have no remorse. They have no guilt. They don't feel bad for what they did. If they do feel bad, they feel bad as if their ancestors did it. But as the news is showing now, the exact same thing is still happening. So the same way that they attempted to kill God, and they're so proud that they killed the image of God. They're so proud that they hijacked and killed the image of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, and they hijacked the history. And they just keep doing the same thing. This isn't going to end with the mark of the beast. It's not going to end if every black person is killed and murdered in this country, because this exact same thing was done in Europe. We're not living, and this is a part of the world I really need everyone to understand, we're not living in a new invention. We're seeing exactly why Europeans left Europe to begin with. We're seeing exactly why they left Europe. But now where do they go? It's going to be a very hard time in this country being a black American. But with that, we've strived, we've built, we've created businesses, we've created beautiful families, we've unified. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't make it. There's going to be a lot of people that are just average citizens. And that's the beauty of it all. The glory of the people, and this is where white people suffer more than anything, the glory of the people isn't built upon the top percentage. It really isn't. And that's where white people love to hide. We live in this falsehood that America is a wealthy nation. No, the richest people in the world live in America because America has no rules. You can do whatever you want here. Basically. So they judge themselves by their top 5 percentile. They live off of and they judge the world off the image of Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and all these people. They live off the image of those people. The reality, 85% of the population in America don't make that kind of money. The majority of these white people riding on the coattails of white America, riding on the coattails of murdering black people and killing, they need to murder black people because they cannot compete, because they do not have the intellect, the knowledge, the wisdom, the soul, the heart, nothing that it takes to become successful. They can lie to you. They can create useless online courses to charge you $10,000, and that should show you how soulless a lot of these motherfuckers are. That should show you that they have no conscience. They have nothing that makes you human anymore. So it's going to be a very hard time being black in America. But what we know for a fact is that most of us, if not all of us as black Americans, have came from the bottom and worked ourselves up. We know innately from the time that we're born, we're coming from the bottom of the totem pole. We are treated like dogs. We're treated like dirt. We are treated like our deaths don't mean anything, and we are murdered by our own kind in record numbers. Before we're born and before we become men, there's the most dangerous times to be a black man is before the ages of 25 and before you were born. But we keep rising up. You keep seeing amazing black celebrities come, and the world loves them. Nobody loves Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt like they love fucking Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle. They don't love white comedians like they love Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle. There's no president more beloved than Barack Obama. I don't even like Barack Obama that goddamn much. Why? Because when we make it and we get there, we got there because it was inside of us. We didn't have a network. We didn't have mommy and daddy and uncle and neighbor Bill and Timmy from down the street, and we're just clouded. White people need racism to survive in America. They need racism to survive on this planet. Racism isn't going anywhere because it's the only survival tactic that they have developed. Is imminent and disastrous violence upon anyone not white. But when we make it, and when we rise, and our families are happy, and our families are joyful, we did that devil's already defeated, folks. People already know white people are some lying ass motherfuckers. They already know. But when white people can admit it to themselves, and we can stop being fearful of survival, we can move past that, and we could focus on the continuation of humanity as a species, that'd be great. But as long as we have this perspective that white people are its own species, white people up here and everyone else is down here, our world is going to suffer, our world is going to bleed, and our world will never recover. White people do not have any answers, they don't have any solutions, they don't have any wisdom, they have nothing to offer you. They might be able to give you a job, but if you talk to most white people, they think that a job is slavery. Might be grateful to have one, because you know that many black people are unemployed. You got a job, that's great. Just tired of it. Just tired of it. And then they assault the white people that want to be Christians. Why? Because white Christians want to be human citizens. If you're a Christian, you're no longer white, you're just Christian. And if you still have that distinction, you're not a real Christian. I'm really sorry for everything that black people have to deal with in this country. I'm so sorry for everything that we have to endure in this attempt to survive and get by. Because it's so painful. It's so painful. There's some good people out there, for sure, of all colors. But we really just need to redefine the culture of this country. We need to cancel the culture. We need to rewrite the rules of American society. We don't need to rewrite the Constitution. We need to listen to the fucking Constitution. Because this is just, we're living in hell. We're living in like an actual demonic wet dream. People are dying. It's the most industrialized, supposed to be the greatest country on the planet, is it not? People are dying every fucking day. Why? And we refuse to initiate any kind of healthcare service. We're so selfish, we're so greedy, we're so terrified of everything. And then when people are murdered in this country, we can't even, white people are so wrapped up in racism, they can't even just say sorry. They can't even say, no, it's not all of us. It's just our race soldiers. It's just those that we put on the bottom of our totem pole to have a gripe against other people, to have a gripe against other races that are surpassing white people, that are getting scholarships that white people don't get, that are graduating from the colleges that white people can't get into. Because it's not about color. Any person with any moderate sense of intelligence can tell you it's not about who's better, white people versus black people. It's about who's better. The people who claim to be colorblind, and I just don't see anything, and I don't know what's going on, or the people who can consciously admit that we're different. And until we embrace that kind of difference, this violence needs to stop. This hatred needs to stop. The media needs to stop. Until we can understand our differences and understand what's going on, like couples counting or some shit like that, no, the whole thing needs to stop. It's terrifying, man. It's terrifying. And it's not going to get any better until white people are taken out of power. It really won't. Because the entire system that they put in place, it doesn't even work for them. So how's it going to work for you? How's it going to work for anybody else? The rules to the world in itself, but the American rules,